Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is the weekly landscape update video I do on this yard in Raleigh, North Carolina that I moved into in the late fall or early winter of last year. And I do a weekly update as I re-landscape this backyard and do some exterior work on the house as well. There's a playlist on my channel called New House. I'll link it down below if you would like to catch up. The early videos showed it all happening from a drone. And next week, I think I'm going to put the drone back up again and just show you beginning and where I started and where it is at this point. Got a lot more pieces to put in the ground, and I think next week this place will be more settled and we can just do more of a tour type of video next week, just to bring you completely up to date on where everything is. This past week, I've got all the not all, but a lot of the containers planted, and there was a container planting video I put up a few days ago. If you haven't seen it, it has the description of all the plants that are in the containers. I'll bounce around and show you the containers real quickly in this video as well. I put the pole beans that I did from seed along the fence over there. I had to dig out there's so many noxious weeds growing right along the fence line of this property. There's a new fence going in later. If you're just watching this video as the first video you're seeing, the fence around this property is going to be completely replaced very soon. But in the meantime, I will have some beans climbing on it over there. I put in some cucumbers and I fertilized those new pieces that are going in. Next week, I'll be putting in my bush green beans, the rest of my cucumbers. I've got some basil to plant, some parsley, and okra. So there's several more things to go in the vegetable garden next week. I'm going to take the cover off of the lettuce over there and plant in that. I'm leaving some of the lettuce plants in the garden, and I'm going to let them come to seed, and I'm going to collect that seed. I do not trust seed availability the rest of this year. I hope there's seed availability, but I don't trust it. And so for the first time since I was a kid, I'm going to collect all my seed on things this year, and I'll show you that as I do that during the year. But first thing will be various lettuce varieties that I have over here. I'll be, like I said, I'll just let them flower, let them come to flower, let them set seed, and then I'll show you how I collect it later and store it for fall when I'll replant lettuce at that time. What else happened? Okay, well, the potatoes over there just continue to go wild. They love growing in that compost, and so that should be fun when I harvest those in a few weeks. And then lots of planting went on this past week. You saw some of that at the beginning of the video. I put in a lot of things that I seeded that were annuals and perennials that I seeded just to fill this place in. All of these things I'm putting in, if I just let them grow, would be too crowded, but I wanted this to kind of look pretty finished this year, and I'll come back in and thin the numbers out later, give them away or whatever at a later time. And some of it's just annuals. It'll be gone in a single season. So real quickly, I'm just going to grab the camera, show you what I put in the ground this past week. And like I say, next week, Wednesday's video, I'll put the drone back up and kind of show you a before. I have all the before video of how this yard looked before that shed was here, when that old metal building was over there, when the back of the house was, in disrepair, and how it all looks now. So there's a ton more annuals and perennials that are still being planted. Here's some of these containers. Like I say, if you watch that container planting video, whenever everything that was planted in these, another container here, I ran the irrigation pipe into them because there's drip irrigation that's going to go in here, and you guys will see that on the Wednesday videos. There's the rest of my vegetable plants that still have to be planted, and peppers as well. I still got some peppers to plant. And more containers there. And here is windmill palm, and this one. This extra lumber from the house construction, from the construction of the porch here, that's going to be moved out onto the driveway this week. And I've got an idea of how I'm going to screen this unit, and I don't know when that'll happen, maybe in the next couple weeks. I've got some pieces in from Plants by Mail this week, and there's two videos going up, one on Friday and one on Saturday, that's going to be shade plant combinations and sun plant combinations. I think it's a pretty good video just on how I go about selecting plants that match up well. And then I went down to a nursery over the weekend that you guys are going to see a tour video of that has super interesting things. This is actually a variegated Nandina right there, some heuchera and bee balm here. Here's one of the orange flowering osmanthus right there. And this is actually a variegated hydrangea paniculata. I'll talk more about these once they go in the ground, but super interesting plants, and you guys are going to see a tour video of that coming up. And like I say, this is the cover is going to come off of this lettuce. I'm letting some of it seed, and a few things in here are already seeding themselves or flowering, and the seeds will set after that. Okay, let's go through some of the plants that went in here this week. Here's some more of the containers right here. Again, I went over all of that in a separate video. These are Scabiosa daisies right here. These will be almost purple, and they'll match this these containers really well. There's some Gypsophilia right here, and moving up this way, I put in some Lobelia right in here, blue flowering Lobelia. There's some Alyssium right here, and all the things that have gone in so far back here look great. Obviously, they haven't grown a whole lot, but there's some more Alyssium right there, and I'll cut you into here slowly. I put in 4 more Rudbeckia there, and there's another Lantana that went in there. That one's called New Gold. That's a low-growing yellow one. That thing will fill that entire space in right there during the summer. Here's some more Gypsophilia right here, and there's some zinnias mixed in along this front line right here. You see these autumn Sundance Encore azaleas are starting to open some flowers. This one right here, we can't talk about. This is Encore azalea that's being released next year. That's also a pink and white variegated variety. I'll show you those toward the end of the year. I've got a purple one too that's going to be, that you guys will see at that time. They're being released next year. I'm going to come back over here and show you this autumn lilac, just how perfect this thing is. It's just starting to open some flowers, but that's an autumn lilac Encore azalea. Okay, moving back over here. I put in some delphiniums back here. I don't know how well these will actually do back here. No idea. Sometimes they go away pretty quickly for me. And there's some more Scabiosa daisies. The Veronica that I planted a few weeks ago is blooming right there with the purple. And there's some more of those Scabiosa daisies there. And then there's some Cosmos right here. And then there's some lupines right in that space, and some ageratum toward the back right there, and then some more of those Cosmos. This area right here where this compost is, I put in, I raked it out again and seeded it with a wildflower mix that's for attracting pollinators to the garden. And I put it out, raked it in a little bit. When you're doing seed like this, when you're direct seeding those types of things, the watering is a little different than it is for other things. With these shrubs and trees and perennials, all these things over here, I'm going to water really well. I'm kind of going to drown them, and then I'm going to let them dry out in between. When you're doing seed like this, what you want to do is just barely wet it, but do it several times a day. So as each time that top layer dries out a little bit, you just lightly water it again. So you're just barely watering it multiple times a day, as opposed to what I call drown and forget, which on all this other stuff, I'll just, drown them, water them really, really heavily, and then I let them dry out in between. That could take days and days. And here's one other container that was done from this past week's video as well. So again, quite a bit of progress going on here. And within the next week or two, you're going to see this thing turn into a really nice greenhouse over here. So again, next week will be a tour, and I'll show you kind of before and where we started from just about 4 months ago. Thanks for watching.